It's here, guys. It is here. Here. It is here. Wait a minute. Hold on. This is not the video exactly, but this is here. I'm just reading it because I was waiting for a exact video of female feminists versus anti-feminists. So, without further ado, even though I don't know why this says does feminists include trans women, I just want female feminists versus anti-feminists. That's all I want to hear. That's all I want. That's all I want. Let me check if there's anything else. Hold on. Let me check. Because I don't think there is. Because I don't want to. Hold on, let me click on this. Process is going really slow. If not, then that's the only way. No, not my 22. I guess not. We're gonna click on it right now. Alright. Scroll up.
Do you want to attract more customers to your place of business? Just put up an LED sign from TV Liquidator, and thousands of people will see your
Anyway, let's get into it right now. Further ado, please like and subscribe to my channel. Enjoy this show of the cat fight. We'll see some claws being declawed.
The concept of anti-feminism is like counterintuitive.
And we're right in the middle of it.
Some pretty blanket statements saying feminists don't care about it, and you say, you think that all women just are against men.
To answer your question, yeah. You're talking about women. Women are not all feminists.
Yeah.
Step forward if you agree with the prompt. If you're a woman, you should be a feminist.
Damn, they straight up walk up
I think the
there.
concept of anti-feminism is like counterintuitive as a woman. Like everyone should want equality of sexes, you know? Everyone should.
Without hesitation, they just walked up there. They're just owning it. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it alone.
To want to have the same education level, the same all these things in a position and still make as much as a person who identifies as male.
In this society, we have to be feminists as women because there's certain things going on where our rights are being stripped away, and black women, black trans women are more likely to be murdered.
Why put race in it? If you leave race out of it, we're talking about women. We're not talking about race. Leave race out of it. Are you sure you leave race out of it? What's your argument then? Let's continue.
Murdered and attacked, and that's absolutely a feminist issue, and that's something that everyone should care about.
Everyone of any gender expression, men included,
Please like and subscribe of this.
should be feminist.
I think there are different brands of feminism, if you will, that don't represent what I think all of us here feel is the true ideal of what feminism
Absolutely.
is.
And I don't think that everyone has to be active as a feminist in the exact same way. Like, not everybody can march, not everybody can protest, not everybody can really be an advocate for feminism.
At the end of the day, it's taking a look at patriarchal systems and seeing the flaws in those systems and how they negatively impact everyone.
Okay, pause on that thought. And the disagreeers step forward.
Women, they just pause, and then did the other dude get a pause, and then the lady say, and excuse the background, and excuse that.
Define woman. Go, please. One of you.
A person who their internal idea of what they are is a woman.
Terrible definition. Coming from a lesbian, that destroys the very concept of our sexual orientation. Just saying that it's an idea.
Why?
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 Because you can't be connected and sexually attracted to somebody's brain.
Let's make sure to keep it to the prompt. If you're a woman, you should be a feminist. Why do y'all disagree with that?
Okay.
I completely disagree. You know, exactly to you.
She ready to fight. Oh God. Oh my goodness. She came out here, it's like, the fight a woman. She ready to fight. Anyway, we'll continue.
Years ago, if I had done this, I probably would be a feminist. But then I started to look at, and I think the agreeers actually mentioned this, like, what do black women gain from feminism? Because I remember even during Black Lives Matter, when I led 2 protests for black women.
Didn't I just say keep race out of it? Look at you, digging yourself a hole. Stupid. Anyway.
And I counted how many white women I saw there, and the ones who were there who were just there to take pictures for social media, and then the black men also hiding behind us. Everyone, the whole world hides behind black women. Enough.
Same thing that's happening. Look what's happening in Iran. People on the feminist side right now are not speaking up for those Iranian women. I have a friend that is trans woman living in Iran right now. It's miserable. Nobody stands up for that poor girl.
As a woman, I particularly think I'm a humanist. For example, 2 years ago, I was a raging feminist, and I made a decision to pivot my platform, teach black women how to sit in our feminine energy, because we've never experienced that.
Well, that just sounds like black feminism to me, teaching women how to do that in the time that we are in now.
But we're not learning fast enough. We deserve to rest, we deserve to relax, we deserve to choose if we want to be a traditional wife. I went from law to being a CEO to now I just want to be a housewife. And every time I say that, I get so much hate. Like, women work so hard to get to this point. Why do you want to be a housewife? Because
that's what you
my
want.
choice.
That's what you want. That's the whole point.
Feminism is all about choice. Exactly. Why can't I choose? That's the whole point of feminism. It's like, why can I choose? What are you missing in America to claim that you are oppressed as a woman?
Well, we just had our rights to our own uteruses stripped away.
Well, the right to murder your own baby, though. I mean,
It's not a baby. It's a clump of cells.
It's a baby. Stupid. It's a baby. Baby. He put that dick in there. Sperm comes out. What comes out of your stomach of 9 months? A baby. A baby. A baby. A baby. Let me stop. A baby. A baby. He comes out. So what it is, murder. Murder. Let's hear that again. Let's hear that again. That was funny.
You are oppressed as a woman.
Well, we just had our rights to our own uteruses stripped away.
Well, the right to murder your own baby, though. I mean,
It's not a baby. It's a clump of cells.
I mean, we all are clump of cells right here.
I think everybody's going to agree and disagree.
Yeah,
on
that's
that.
a whole.
I don't know if that's another topic. That's another topic.
I had a very, very hard time not stepping up to that prompt because my whole life I did consider myself a feminist.
Honeybug completely changed.
Dang. Commercial.
The way I do business. I'm Latasha James. My best piece of advice.
Not right now, Latasha.
Seeing how this modern wave of feminism has now turned into something very different than equal rights. We all want equal rights. Of course, we want equal rights. We want equality as women. Of course.
But how can you have equal rights when you can't define the word woman on the far left?
Alta had a Women's Day recently, and the Women's Day was celebrated by 2 trans women who still had their male parts. I mean, you're pushing women out.
Or not a trans woman.
Pushing women out of womanhood.
I'm sure we're going to have discussions about whether or not a trans woman is a woman, but I actually want to go back to how we feel that our ideal of feminism is probably not the way that you four think of feminism. I'm willing.
Because I best believe, probably, I'm gonna keep moving.
And I agree with that. I think that's why people like me stepped away from that. Not because we're not women empowered or believe in women empowerment.
It's because we are women empowered.
It's because we believe women empowerment means something different than what you guys believe in.
And what I've seen now,
Pause
too.
there.
Oh.
We're going to reset. Next prompt. There's no wrong reason to get an abortion.
Ah! Ah! Let's see. They better not all walk. They better not all walk. All of them? All of them. Come on. There's no reason. I mean, I already said what my opinion is. I don't like seeing death at all. And I believe life deserves a chance. So that's my say. Continue. All of them walks!
Ooh. Okay. If you were making a health decision between you and a medical professional that is the right decision for you, your body, your future, it is always the right decision.
I would never stand between anyone with a uterus from making a decision about their body.
No, yeah, they're like, you can do it. You can have this health. You can have this health care if you are a victim of incest or a victim of rape. It's like you should be able to have access to that. What if you want it? You know, it's about it's the same as going into the doctor and getting a routine check. If there's something for your body that you think will, you know, not just benefit you but help you live and also help you sustain an actual good life for your child, then that's what you need to do.
And
yeah,
financial is a huge thing too.
It is a huge thing.
It's an extremely huge financial responsibility to have a kid, and some people just don't have that means.
Then don't have sex. Wear rubber.
Agree and disagree. I'm definitely pro-choice. I'm probably the only anti-feminist that's pro-choice.
Being pro-choice, pro-abortion is actually very common. It's like 78% of Americans.
Okay, so yeah.
There's actually many people who are in your category.
To me, it makes sense in certain circumstances. I don't think people should be using abortion as a form of birth control. I think, to me, abortion's, believe it or not even the issue we need to be talking about right now. I feel like we need to be talking about how to properly educate people, no matter what their status is, no matter what their sexual orientation, whatever. And we need to go from there.
There's the noise.
Well, I think I have a very interesting perspective on this because my mother opened the first Planned Parenthood in our state, and she is very pro-abortion outwardly. But inwardly in our home, we weren't allowed to do it. And so growing up at that dichotomy really, I think, messed me up a lot because I was like, okay, which one is the truth?
There are wrong reasons to get an abortion. A wrong reason to get an abortion is if you are going through your pregnancy and all of a sudden you change your mind. If you are irresponsible and all of a sudden finding yourself scared of motherhood.
When people say that women are getting abortions because they just don't want to be pregnant anymore, they're not actually understanding the way that an abortion works. Most of the time they're talking about late-term abortions, and what a lot of people don't realize is when you have that kind of abortion, you have to give birth to the fetus. There's no going back. You're literally giving birth to a body. It's never just a, whoop, I don't feel like being pregnant anymore, guess.
I'm not gonna get into it because someone made a comment. I don't think it was her, saying, "Oh, they're just a couple sales. They're just a couple sales. They're just a couple." Anyway,
These last 8 months, I just wasted everything. No one's doing that.
Raising children is the most blessed gift, and I
will say this: women who are irresponsible and just want to use it as, like they say, birth control. You can attack me, whatever. Irresponsible.
I speak as
For the streets.
someone who, when I found out that I was expecting for the first time, I kid you not, I was terrified.
But you were prepared.
No. I was not necessarily prepared. I was not prepared. And I was very much caught off guard. And I was terrified because I had an incredible
She was ready to put words in that lady's mouth. Leave it alone.
career happening for me.
Finances.
On the upswing.
Finances.
I had, let me finish. I
Let her
had
finish.
such a dramatic, fearful reaction to becoming a mother because of what our society has been telling me for throughout my adolescence and my early 20s, is that once you become a mother, it's all over and it ends. And that is a very, very deeply rooted problem in our society that I do think we need to address.
That sentiment is the patriarchy in action, though.
What is the patriarchy?
What isn't the patriarchy? I feel like that's the better question. It's a systemic ideal that favors masculinity, men,
Male power, male dominance.
And what do you mean by that exactly? That I would ask that. Personally. I would ask that.
The traditional idea of what a man is.
Why isn't a traditional idea of a man is wrong? Of self-caring, being responsible, be able to what is it? Be financially stable. Why is that deemed unworthy? Like, I can ask, don't you want to be financially stable and be feeling good about yourself and, like, you know, doing oral, I'm actually, why? Who drilled in their heads thinking that way?
The patriarchy is a system that oppresses not just women, but everyone.
It's not patriarchy because the people who scared me so much were the women mom bloggers.
Just because it's coming from a woman.
Coming from women does not mean
But
that
these
it's
were
not
the
from the
no.
patriarchy.
These were the women, and I speak with
Proof. She has proof. You cannot deny, based on her perspective.
really strong conviction about this. The women who are publicly outward speaking to other women through blogs, through social media, talking about, my life is so hard because of my kids. Oh, my kids are jerks. Oh, life is this. I have no money. Those messages are very, very pervasive, and they're very dangerous, and they're toxic
But
to
they're
women.
also real parts of motherhood. We just discussed how motherhood...
How many of you are mothers here?
I am not a mother, but...
Okay, I am a...
Ha! You can't say shit because you're not a mom. You're not a mom. Shut up. Anyway.
Mother of 12 years. And I know all of the very, very hard parts of motherhood. And I just wish, as someone who has actually, as the only person here who has gone through this motherhood experience, I, from the bottom of my heart, wish...
Ladies, take notes. Ladies, take notes.
That the positive aspects of motherhood supersede all of the hard stuff.
Let's get back on prompt. Again, there's no wrong reason to get an abortion. Isabella,
I want
to hear from Isabella.
There's been so many points I want to talk
I was going
about.
to talk about Candace, maybe. Candace, what she says about...
I don't even know what she said.
Oh,
Just let her talk.
sorry.
So my parents
Damn. So...
actually had me when they were 19, and thank God they didn't abort me. They were not ready. They were in a terrible situation, and having me at 19 made them grow up and mature and become adults and not continue being on a bad path. So I'm thankful for that. And a lot of, something that you said it's society's, I think it was about society's pushing this idea, like demonizing motherhood, and you said that's part of the patriarchy. Well, I would ask you this, don't you think men benefit from women getting abortions because they no longer have to deal with it? They can just sleep around, and if, God forbid, a woman gets pregnant, oh, she wants to abort it. Cool, now I'm off the hook.
What is the patriarchy?
I don't even know what that men oppress us and, like... That everything that goes wrong that men are to blame, and I don't think that's a healthy way of being.
Very happy to live under this so-called patriarchy.
This word patriarchy, it does not make any sense to me. Women are not oppressed in America.
Patriarchal society doesn't bother me. Like Marilyn Monroe says, as long as I can be all of a woman in it, I am not bothered.
The feminist movement is inherently racist.
I'm gonna let this play out because I've never heard that statement before. How? You know what? I'm gonna let them. Yeah, I'm gonna let them talk.
The feminist movement does not benefit POC in any shape or form. It especially does not benefit Black women. And the darker your skin is, the more you are used. I call us Black women as the bullets for the feminist movement.
If we're talking historically, if we're talking how feminist movements started, it was an exclusionary movement.
Absolutely.
If we go back to the suffragettes or even further, Black women were not allowed to join in that effort because they really weren't fighting for Black women.
Until we were used as bullets.
Right.
If we're not being used, we can't be part of the movement.
They did use Black women. They used Black women's efforts because most of the most achievements that feminism, you're right, like most of the achievements of feminism have been done by Black women, and white women have stepped in and taken the credit for like people who do identify as feminists, especially those of us who are white. I think the most important thing for us to do is to sit down, shut up, and listen to Black women.
We live in a world full of media streams, social platforms and devices, countless.
As a Black woman who identifies as a feminist, my work centers Black women. So to say that, you know, of course, like white women were able to vote before Black women, like the feminist movement was inherently racist, but how I live my life and the way that the community that I've built around myself of Black feminists, we see.
Why label it feminism?
Well, you can label it whatever you want, but
helping other Black women.
I affirm you, and I see that the semantics makes you uncomfortable because feminism was racist, but you
is still racist,
but you're not racist. So if you are not racist and you have issues that you want to be working towards for Black women, that doesn't mean that you're inherently being racist or helping white women. I think feminism exists on a spectrum.
We're talking about semantics. We're talking about terms. They evolve and they change. Ideologies change. Right. And I think that feminism is evolving and changing. And I think it's because of the work of people like you. And so that's why I can confidently say
it's evolving. It's not evolving. I think it's devolving. You know, I think third wave feminism, I mean, by all accounts, I see, you know, again, have a very powerful Black mother, very feminist Black mother. And I've seen, I would never forget this as she's battling cancer and I'm holding her hand in bed. And she's married to my dad, who's a very passive man. He's a professor, but very passive, and let her took the front. She waited for my dad to leave the room and said, maybe you can find a man to take care of you. And this is I'm sorry. My mom is like, she's like this thing that's bigger than life. She's so big, like untouchable, like, you know, like powerful, and no one could tell her. And just to see her weak, and her only regret now is that she never got to rest, and she never met a man to take care of her. Even though my dad is incredible in his own way, but she never experienced what it feels like to be a woman. And I refuse to. I would rather die alone than experience a marriage like that. After 40 years of fighting and being a feminist, you know, and she is now at her end. I mean, no one wants to say they did life wrong. But she's saying, man, I wish I could have taken care of myself. I wish I could have done this. I love how you get your hair done and you go get makeup done and you're so, and she says it, you know, like she wasn't there in the household to raise us, like back to motherhood, because she was gone fighting every single day for women's rights to come home and be exhausted by the time she gets home. And we never got to have a mother, you know.
When I scroll my own social media feed, I rarely see a powerful woman highlighted who is not an ethnicity. No. It's true.
You're using them as pawns. If
They're using them as pawns.
Oh, 100%.
A lot of big brands are now hopping on this, modern feminism bandwagon, which I don't agree with what modern feminism is, but a lot of brands now, and I'll just say, a big brand that comes to mind is Dove. Diversity is always a good thing. However, for years, have not seen any kind of a ad campaign from the brand Dove speaking to women's empowerment that includes a woman that looks like us. What modern feminism today is lacking, I think, is genuine respect for diversity of opinion for all women.
If you felt modern day feminism didn't hijack all points of view of women, that you would still identify as a feminist?
Yes. Yes.
Well, I mean, the entire time everyone was talking, all I was thinking was, wow, I'm so sick of all these labels and all these different intersections, and these days there's more intersections than genders, and I'm just like, all these identity politics groups, we're just pitting each other against each other. Race keeps getting brought up. I know it's brought up in the prompt for this one, but in every single other one, and I don't even think about this. I don't even think that I'm not being represented even in ads. I don't care. It just says, I'm sure. I am me.
I'm clear.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't care.
You don't have to care.
Thank you for letting me know that. You always know, feminists always know best for me. That's what I've noticed. It's a trend. But.
I mean, I'm just pointing out that you are a privileged white woman who has not had to see the lack of diversity.
What race are you? Anyway, I'm gonna leave it alone. Like I said in the beginning, if you put race out of the whatchamacallit, even though this one moved, let this one pass. What can you say? It's a bunch of BS.
When we step into a room filled with other white people, we don't notice that it's other white people. But when women of color have stepped into rooms and they see that it's just a bunch of other white people.
Also, intersectionality is not just about diversity, and it's certainly not about diversity in ad campaigns. It's about how poor women can't afford to drive to another state to get an abortion, but rich women can.
It costs more money to drive to get an abortion than it would take to raise that kid?
Well, but that's the thing, right? Like, if you don't have the money to drive to get an abortion, how are you going to have the money to raise that child? Why should you be forced into motherhood?
If you work for yourself, you really need to get HoneyBook.
Really? Can you manage client invoices?
Yep.
I liked how, what was it? She was trying to make a point, and then one of these females were just bashing her. Oh, it's just because you're I don't understand. I don't understand females nowadays like this.
Feminists don't appreciate all that men do for society.
Ah! Look at that.
I mean, I've got a lot to say about this. Feminists just demonize men. They hate men. All men are trash. They say they hate men while simultaneously trying to become men. They hate them for having power and the patriarchy, so they're trying to overtake it. But a lot of women will talk about rape culture. But guess what? Guess who's going to protect you from bad people? A man.
We need men.
We need men.
It's as simple as that. It's a God-given right for men to exist the way they were assigned to exist. We need men. It's very simple. We need men to procreate. We need men to provide. We need men to produce. We need men to go to war and die. We need men. It's so bad now that they're so scared of us. They're terrified all the time. I go on dates with men and they're like, am I allowed to open the door? Can I not open the door? Can I touch it? Can I pull the chair out? What can I do? And they're shaking, they're sweating. And you're just like, be yourself. It's okay. They're so afraid of doing anything wrong. So much so they're now the most lonely demographic in the world, right? Like straight white men, I heard, are now the most lonely because they just created incels, They don't want to leave their apartment or their house because they're so afraid of women.
I'm not on board with this trend, especially happening in schools right now. There is a trend where They are raising up the girls. Girl power, girl boss, girl this, run like a girl in the best way
You're gonna
possible.
make me vomit.
That's, it's dangerous. It is dangerous because, yes, we want to uplift our women. That's the right thing to do so that men and women do maintain equality. But at the same time, by raising the girls, we are forgetting about our boys.
Yeah, they want to solve inequality by enforcing more inequality. And if women were equal to men, then why do the girls need to be raised up so much? Why? The only men that feminists like are men dressing as women and dominating their sports and just really reversing what the other waves of feminism thought to do. Have fun with men beating you in your sports, women, because guess what? You're not going to beat them. Have fun. I've never even felt unequal, so I don't even know what the problem is. I feel like a lot of people just want to have a reason to be upset and outraged. I also just don't identify with all these identity politics groups. I think they're being pit against each other, separating all these different people by race, class, gender, everything, sexual orientation, and I look at people as individuals.
All right, on that note, let's have the disagreeers step forward.
There's a difference between not appreciating men and pointing out the inequities that have been systemically put in place to favor men, especially white men, white straight men. There's a difference between hating men and pointing out that there are inequities.
I want to talk about this concept of protection. We're talking about good men who are protectors. Who are they protecting us from?
Bad men.
Bad men, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Or bad women. Bad anybody.
I could
drive a car and
it was a rhetorical. I guess
No, I understand the point you're trying to make. That's why
Stop trying to be an ass and ask the fucking question.
I said what
but
you
I'm
wanted
going
me
to
say.
finish. So then who benefits from men's bad behavior? Good men as well, right? They get to be positioned as the good guys.
Good apples.
They're the good apples. And that is predicated on the bad behavior of men.
No, they benefit from being a good person and protecting women. Who cares? We should not be praising people based off comparing them to bad people.
But I don't benefit from being a good girl. I don't get
You're a good feminist, right? I'm sure people love what you have to say as a feminist. Other feminists agree with it and are like, yes, go girl boss.
There are
They
good
do.
people on earth and bad people on earth. We're always going to have that. That will never change. It's in every animal kingdom. So we need the good man to protect us from the bad man.
To go off of what you said, because you said when women are sexually assaulted, they turn to another man to protect them. I work as a sexual assault and domestic violence counselor. I work with rape victims every single day. They don't turn to men to protect them. They don't.
I didn't say they turn to them. I was saying they potentially can, if you're walking home alone at night and
I
you're
don't
afraid.
turn to another man. I don't. I turn to other women.
Yeah, I appreciate men that, I love a man that knows his place. Build the house. Yeah, repair that. Because I'm a goddess. Like, if you need to hold your weight in the relationship. Like, I appreciate men. I love men. Like, just like you said, you have a husband, you want to cook for your husband, you make sure that he's good. Men have roles in society as well. Feminist is anything you want it to be. As a woman, I am promiscuous because I'm a feminist, but you can also be conservative because I'm a feminist. Modern day feminism is about you and what you make it and not what someone 60 years ago said it was. But I don't praise men because they aren't raping. Like,
I agree with everything you just said.
You're agreeing with us.
I agree with you
the
fully.
same exact thing. Like,
yeah,
that's
but I
actually
disagree
the
with the
movement.
prompt because I do appreciate men. I don't think that feminists don't appreciate men. I think that's not true.
Like, the person who taught me to be the feminist that I am was my father.
Yeah.
My father did not raise me to believe that I was less than because I was a woman. He raised me to understand that I am societally disadvantaged, but he told me that I was going to rise above that.
My household, my mom was so strong that my dad became so emasculated that he cannot do anything. He stopped working. He became just like a couch potato, right? Why she just went out there and kill it. And we are destroying family, as we know, because look at me. I'm in my 30s. I'm not settled down. I don't have children. I don't have this family unit that I want so terribly, because no matter how hard I tried, that feminism that I was raised with always tends to over.
That girl in pink, she does not care. Like, she don't even want to listen at all. At all.
Shadow my relationship, because in my head I know best, right? Like, I know what's right. I know, because I saw it growing up. I saw it modeled to me growing up. Like, a woman knows everything. We're so powerful.
But the
We're
idea
so strong.
that men are supposed to be the head of the household, do you understand that that is killing men?
That's killing men.
It is killing.
How is that killing men? On what perspective? Anyway.
Well, let them die, because they need to go back to working.
The pressure of it, you mean, right? The pressure
of it is destroying their mental health. That's why men.
It's not destroying my mental health. I am perfectly fine. And I can agree. There's other males that I am friends with can say the same thing or agree on the same thing. Anyway.
Men are 6 times more likely to commit suicide than women are, especially men in committed relationships. Men in their 40s that are married with families are the highest risk for suicide.
But it's killing men because we have generations and generations of boys who were not raised to be men and rise to that occasion.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's hear that one more time. Let's hear that one more time.
It's killing men because we have generations and generations of boys who were not raised to be men and rise to that occasion.
It's killing men because we're not in a position capitalistically where we can have men be the one single head of the household, the bread earner, the decision maker. We are no longer in the 1950s. Our economy is not able to handle that kind of...
You cannot handle that.
That kind of nuclear family with the man being the head of the household, the stay-at-home moms and the 2.5 children.
I want to clarify, I'm not a stay-at-home mom.
No,
I do work,
I
and so
understand.
I do have perspective. When you are in a long-term marriage or relationship with a partner of anyone, yes, you're going to have disagreements, but you also have to understand that each person in that partnership does have roles, because that is how a healthy family functions.
Only women should make laws about women's bodies.
Not gonna say anything.
I'm gonna add a mic.
Not the lady, just like no, come on, lady in the back with the jacket. Come on, make your own decision. Don't look at them. Make your own decision. Come on.
Minor caveat to this, and not say that like entirely just women should make laws about women's bodies. And I think it's more important that people who are educated on the female body are the people who are allowed to make laws about the female body. Like, we shouldn't have lawmakers making laws stating, oh, abortion is completely illegal, even if it's an ectopic pregnancy, you can reinsert that fetus. No, you're killing people if you make that kind of stupid law.
It doesn't mean that any of our male lawmakers can't be involved.
And frankly, I think they need to be a little bit more involved. Some of them are slacking.
Yes.
They are letting me down.
Yes,
and you know,
absolutely.
I think there are a lot of men who hold a lot of power, who are on our side, who are not doing enough.
Do you want to attract more customers to your place of business? Just put up an LED sign from TV.
Fudge.
I want to say it's funny because I think you all spoke for us, because I think you all agreed that everyone should be involved in making these laws. We need men. You see how simple that was?
And men can be women these days.
Men can't be women if they actively identify as men. That's not a thing.
I currently identify as a man.
Okay, then you're a man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you agree that these laws that are specific about our bodies, shouldn't the originators of that bill talking about our bodies be women?
Answer that, can y'all?
No. I don't think we should think about men versus women. I think we should have intelligent.
It's not about men versus women. Of
It
course,
is.
men are going to be involved.
It is. Stop trying to, like, I could rewind and there's the proof. Anyway.
With creating laws and putting laws into place. But when we're talking about the language, when we're talking about verbiage for these laws, shouldn't a woman be, multiple women preferably, be
involved?
Yeah, be at the forefront of what these laws look like for us.
I think it's less about a man versus a woman and more about the way society is now versus 50 years ago. People that you didn't even vote for, that are spending lifelong terms in Congress and such. You know, that's in the Supreme Court. That's more of an issue to me than worrying about if a man or a woman wrote this law or bill.
There's checks and balances to our government,
checks
but
and
I wanted to
balances,
ask you, would you, I'm a woman, I'm 100% pro-life.
Oh, you're a woman now?
I identify
She's
as right
gender
now.
fluid.
I'm switching back.
Okay.
No, very fluid by the hour. But would you be okay with, so I'm a woman now, for now, and I am very pro-life. You're okay with women like me making these laws? Because you disagree with the outcome there. I'm assuming you're pro-choice, right?
But the law is, if we're talking about Roe v. Wade, right?
Yeah,
The
let's- as an example.
law is about, it's not about your ideal of pro-life. It's about abortion. It's about bodily autonomy. If you don't want to get an abortion, fine. That's what it's all about. It's your choice.
I want to sort of reverse it and ask you the question: should there be laws about women's bodies where there was no women involved? Because there certainly are.
Right, but we live in a system of government where there are states' rights, and I live in California, and guess what? I don't agree with anything our governor is doing. I don't agree with the majority that is in our state legislature, yet I live here and I choose to live here, and if I have a problem with the laws, then I have the opportunity to move to a different state.
So just fuck all the people who don't have the opportunity to move to a different state.
Everyone has opportunity to work, to
They
make
don't.
a life for themselves here in America.
They
What
don't,
I
though.
love about America is that this is the only place on earth that you can work and achieve based on your merit.
I was raised by a single mom who, you know.
What was so hard about that? If you do not like it, you can move on to do something else. As far as moving to another state, what is so wrong about that? If you do not like living, let's say, Georgia, and you are having a shitty life and you do not agree with the laws and all this, that, and third, you have the right to move. No one's not stopping you. I don't know why this, yes.
Didn't have the support she needed to really mother me. So by the time I was 15, I moved out of her home. And I lived with a boyfriend at the time. I fought my school board for better sex education. I fought my senator when he voted to repeal funding for Title X and birth control access to funding I relied on. And I told him, why would you deny me the American dream? And I shared with him that birth control was helping me to be successful, to go on to higher education. And now I'm on a full ride at Columbia University. I'm the first in my family to go to college. And in large part, that is because of access to birth control.
You guys mentioned that, there's not everyone has a bootstrap. And this is why feminism is such a weird topic to have in this particular country, because I'm from a developing country, I'm from Nigeria. Although my parents were quite successful, thankfully, but I grew up around poverty. I saw it every single day. And so to come to this country, to have to start over and make something of ourselves, and I see immigrants do it all the time. When you say things like, oh, I was raised by a single mother, or, most people don't have bootstraps, you're in America. That's like, this is the place to do it. This is the place to do it. Find that boots, honey, and put it on.
No one's saying that there aren't challenges. We're saying that this is the best place to
do it.
have that challenge.
And I quickly want
the challenges are not distributed equally. Nobody said that.
Let me just.
Somebody did.
To say that only women should make decisions about women's bodies is completely unrealistic.
I have to believe that there is a future where that is possible.
Well, of course there's a future. More women than ever are serving in our government. Of course there's a future. So of course women always have a seat at the table.
You're at Columbia. Look at you. You moved out at 15, you're at Columbia.
Yeah,
You're
but when
here.
I graduated from UC Berkeley and I was in my lecture halls, there were 2 other black people, and it's 400 people in here. Like, that makes me uncomfortable.
It's not that we look at everything through an oppressive lens. It's that many of us hold different identities that allow society to continue to oppress us. A friend of mine had to travel across state for an abortion. She had the ability to select between paying for her disability, the things that she needs for her disability, or traveling for an abortion. Like, you guys don't have to think about that.
But that
she
was
has to
her
decision to have sex.
No,
Of course it wasn't.
she
Then
was
I
being
agree.
raped.
No, then I with
Raped.
you. Then I agree.
Then say the context. Say she was raped. Start in the beginning. Stop. I'm sick of people doing that. Start off saying she was raped, therefore da 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 da, instead of saying this girl da 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 da, and then they assuming. Stop having them do that. It's like so low, so stupid. Start off saying this is what happened, and this is the.
Agree with you.
Okay,
But I shouldn't have to tell you that story for you to understand that there are certain things that you have not experienced that oppress other people. Oh, okay, you're just traumatized enough for me to understand that maybe things are hard.
Feminism that doesn't include trans women isn't feminism.
That hurt my brain.
You surprised to see me here? No. Okay, good.
You know, it's really important to include trans women and trans people and gender nonconforming people, which, by the way, I am gender queer myself. I don't actually identify as a woman. It's really important that those of us who do have privileges, like, speak up for trans women in the community, especially because they're the most at risk for hate crimes.
I also want to just level set and say that we are having this conversation without trans women. Right? We are sitting here today having
Do we know that?
conversation without
For sure?
trans women.
I identify as
She's on a
trans.
she identifies as non-binary, and she's on a feminist panel.
my pronouns-
So maybe she doesn't belong here either. They don't belong here.
Plot twist, I am biologically female and I'll never deny that. I lived as a woman for most of my life. I am 31. I only came out a couple of years ago. I spent a lot of time, you know, the majority of my life in these spaces with women. That does give me a kind of unique perspective now being a trans non-binary person.
There's an issue with categorizing womanhood as a means of female. Earlier, it was mentioned by somebody on the anti-trans side about trans women coming in and taking over sports and things like that, which is just not true.
Trans non-binary. I've never heard. I mean, no, I never heard that. Actually, I would like to understand what that means, but not right now.
That is true.
It's not.
It is.
It's
I can
not.
show you a number of cases.
Show you
there
a
might be
number of
people that also
science-
haven't.
No, I can show you a number.
Trans women retain 30% of their biological advantage.
That is not
if they
true.
went through male puberty. Yes, it is.
That is
yes, it is.
That is not.
Let's not
that
argue
fast.
it. That's not even the prompts. We're not going to argue about that.
Because you're wrong.
If you are a trans woman and you walk out in the world and you are seen as a man, you do not belong in women's spaces. I don't care what anybody says. I think that's ridiculous, and I think even trans women that have gender dysphoria that go through transition will agree with me.
This makes me so incredibly uncomfortable that we're even having this conversation.
You could go back
about
over
them.
there if you really wanted to.
Ooh. If we took all of that off the table.
Let's throw some heads. Let's go. She wants to be.
Right? If we're not talking about who can play sports with whom, can people exist as who they are?
Absolutely.
It sounded like you were saying if a trans woman doesn't look like what you perceive as looking like a woman, they shouldn't be in feminist spaces.
I didn't say that. I said they shouldn't be in female spaces.
Okay.
Not feminist spaces.
Okay.
I think women.
I just
Trying to twist them words. Ready to twist them words.
With that, but
That's
okay.
fine. It makes sense to biologically classify people. It also makes sense to socially classify people. Let's say my friend Blair White was sitting right here. That's my buddy. I love her. She's sitting right here. Do I think she lives her life as a man? No. Like we were talking about men making decisions for women as far as abortions are concerned. That's something she'll never experience.
There are women who biologically cannot produce. There are females, people assigned female at birth, who biologically cannot produce. Are you saying that those female women should not be able to have say in those laws?
That's not what I'm saying at all. I guess my...
That is what she was saying. That is not what she was talking about. She's talking about her friend. Her friend who was not biological female. This has nothing to do with an actual female not able to reproduce. You, lady in pink, are so fucking delusional. And you don't want to hear anybody's point except for yourself.
My main issue with trans women being seen as women and not being seen as trans women is they're changing the definition of women and expecting everybody to go along with that. And that affects me, yes they are, and that affects me directly. You say trans women are women are trans women. It's a very different experience.
Trans women are women.
We're just gonna agree to disagree with that. If you ask feminists at a women's march what a woman is, they can't even define it. How can you protect something and empower something that you don't even know the actual definition of?
Good question.
Well, I will say J.K. Rowling calls herself a feminist and was canceled for not being pro-trans, which is kind of overtaking and reversing some of the work feminists have done in the past.
She's a billionaire.
Well, they criticize her.
Fine.
She's fine.
Her billionaire feelings are hurt. I'm so saddened for her.
Feminist movement does not allow anyone to have any other opinions but what you guys
But what
think
does
is
that mean,
correct.
though? Because she's allowed to have that opinion, and she still makes a bunch of money.
Yes, she does.
What do trans women take away from women in the feminist
We're back.
movement? The definition of words and what that means and how that affects us directly.
Can you expand on that?
Yes, when you change the word woman, legally it has implications. Sexually it has implications.
But the word woman
directly
has changed throughout histories, throughout different cultures. Indigenous people have had different genders, different ways of looking at gender. The Torah specifically has 8 different genders, and we have recognized that for over 3,000 years. You're denying anybody's culture that does not agree with your perception and your worldview because you hold so highly onto your identity and you see it as an attack on who
So
you
do you
are.
all of on sexual orientation.
So do feminists as a
But
whole,
it's
though.
nothing to do with sexual
It has exactly to do with sex. When you change the word woman and a lesbian is a woman that is attracted to women, how is that not directly affecting us?
What defines a
You're not I'm playing. I'm just You're not gay. That's what I should say. Or lesbian. Anyway.
woman is being born with biological women's parts, and that is what a woman is. And trans women are individuals who choose to live their lives as women, and I honor that. And everyone deserves dignity and respect, and I mean that. But at the same time, there are universal truths, and we have, as a society, gotten to this confusing tangled place where there's your truth, your truth, your truth, your truth. There is one objective truth in what we are.
Can you explain to me the women in Guatemala who are born female, who are assigned female at birth, and then during puberty grow penises?
I can't explain it because I don't know anything about that.
That sounds like an intersex condition.
You try to, again, but how feminists always try to tell us how we should live our life. I said I was a raging feminist. She goes, I don't believe that.
I don't see that. I don't know what you've been saying. I can't see any traces of feminism in
My
what you're
mother
saying.
is literally.
We heard a lot about your mom, but what about you?
I am a woman. Looking at me, I am a woman. Born and raised a woman. Why are we trying to write women, born biological women, why are you trying to write us out of history?
You guys keep saying that there's a biological reality of male and female. Scientists do not agree with you.
Scientists that you choose to agree with. I mean, you can find a study and a scientist to back up anything you want to prove
Well,
these days.
I choose to do peer-reviewed studies and not ones that are backed by political agenda. And I'm sorry that my peer-reviewed studies tend to agree with the fact that trans women are women and that biology it does not exist in a binary. Never has and it never will.
I secretly crave men's approval.
Yeah. Men's approval has kept me safe in so many ways. Being desirable, being fuckable.
What? You guys were just saying in the beginning, you was like, we don't need men. This, that, and the third. We don't need men. Blah, blah, blah. We don't need men. Why do we need men?
Has kept me safe many a time. And it's no secret. I guess that's where I disagree. It's no secret that sometimes men's approval is what stands between me and safety.
I firmly believe that the reason
That irks me so much. You were just saying in the beginning, we don't need men. Why do I need men's approval? Now, why are you going to be a hypocrite and say that?
It's 8:48 a.m. Currently in Annandale, it's 39 degrees and partly cloudy. Today.
Give me a second, guys. That irks me so much. irks me so much.
And why I waited so long to come out with my transness is because I was afraid of losing male approval. It is so embedded into our society. I really pushed myself to present in a way that wasn't authentic to me for men.
I'm trying to unlearn this like very actively and trying to fight for nobody's approval but myself. Like, because it's not even that I should have men's approval, or I should need men's approval or women's approval. I should need my own approval.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, this.
Then why are you over here if you don't secretly crave men's approval? Go back, and go back.
Prompt, I think, might be surprising for some folks to see us sitting here.
Yeah, because we're like so feminist, but like, you
But
know.
it's a reminder that this work doesn't happen in a vacuum. And that because I am implicated in what is happening, right, in the issues, I am implicated in the issues, that's why I do the work. Because I am impacted by them.
Oh yeah? Let's hear what they say. But Pinka doesn't give a fuck what anybody says.
I've
anyway.
never thought of a moment where I thought to myself, oh, I wish that man would find me sexy, because I feel so empowered in myself. I always dress like this from head to toe, covered usually from head to toe, and I don't think I've ever experienced that moment, perhaps subconsciously, but I don't think I've ever. And, you know, I think that's also why, you know, with my platform now that I switched from a raging feminist to femininity, which I was, and you can't tell me what I was and who I was. I had the shaved head, the armpit hair, all of it.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. And when I went from that to that, now I take
Wait,
women
I
have
was
to, like,
surprised.
dress modern and cover up and be feminine and soft and all of that.
Who are you dressing modern and modest for?
For myself, because it empowers me. I am Nigerian first and foremost, and because of that, in our culture, we've always been very modest. We didn't even have a word for it. It's just that's how women dress. We layer on top of layers on top of layers. And I remember when I first, you know, became a feminist and like moved into, and I would show skin, I always felt so uncomfortable.
Why did you feel uncomfortable with showing your skin? I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just asking out of.
It seemed like you were about to attack her. I'm sorry. It's like, why did you?
Curiosity, why you felt uncomfortable, like what the root of that discomfort.
Weren't you listening? Anyway, she was from Nigeria. She's not accustomed to that. So, changing, I'll let her speak.
Comfort was.
Because it's not who I am.
But I also think we'd be denying reality if we said when we put clothes on the morning, we didn't think about the way that we would navigate the world in them, right? The way that people would perceive us and think about us. And it's definitely worth noting that, like, you know, clothing choices are also about access to power, access to moving through spaces, being seen as acceptable in certain spaces, right?
Like covering up, not necessarily because you feel like that empowers you, but covering up because it's a sense of safety. Like so many, like one of the things that we have to, with my job, we have to correct officers on, like when an assault victim comes forward, like they're not allowed to ask, what were you wearing? Like, but that's because it's very bad. It's very, it's very dehumanizing because it implies that
It was their fault.
That it was their fault.
I think we can all agree on
Yes.
that. I was assaulted, fully clothed, when I was only 12 years old. So,
It's
you know,
okay.
trust me, I know.
We're gonna have a prompt that has to do with this.
Cool.
Yeah, I just
Lady, leave them alone and talk. Let them talk.
don't really care about men. Like, men are not a part of my day. When I wake up in the morning, I think about how to be the baddest, how to step into myself. So if that's looking like you from head to toe or showing a little cleavage, like it's gonna be what it is. And men are gonna like, the men I attract, they like me because I am like no one else they've met. Like they've never really experienced.
You're not the only fish in the sea. That's all I have to say.
This new person. It's like you don't know what their approval is, like especially when it comes to things like race and preference, and like nothing that I do is going to really be approved by men ever. So I might as well just do me.
But I do just want to say that men's approval, once again, it's not just about if they want to date you or marry you or have sex with you. It is about if they want to hire you, if they want you to be a part of their organization or their school. And so when we talk about wanting men's approval, we're talking about if they want to hire me, if
they want to let me have access to that social mobility, and if they will allow me to be safe walking down the street or in a bar. Men's approval is so much deeper and more systemic than just romantic.
Are we allowed to, I have to agree with that, even though we're on the opposite end of this, because, I'm a blogger and I write about women's, makeup, and, for example, Dove is one of the brands that I am the face of, and when I go into those meetings, they are white men. And although I do not go into it thinking, oh my God, I should seek their approval, I do know that the way I dress conservatively gets me those checks.
And probably as a black woman, how you wear your hair as well.
Oh yeah, they love this hair. Oh, they love it. They love it. They love it.
I was trying to push you before.
No, I do that. But that's also how I was raised, and it's cultural. Nigerian women are very conservative by nature.
It's rational for women to fear men.
Working with sexual assault and domestic violence victims every single day, it has completely just reopened my mind and my trauma, because I am a sexual assault survivor myself, which is why I got into the work that I do. It's every single woman, almost every single woman has some sort of story where she was in a room or in a space with a man and that man made her feel unsafe. And if every single woman has a story like that, it's rational.
Absolutely. And I think that's why, again, I know I'm bringing this back to the trans issue, but that's why I think it's important to define what a woman or man or male or female is. Like, if it's just something in your head, then why do we logically have to be afraid of that specific thing if it's just something, a gender in your head?
So
there are biological differences that can make us fearful or make men react certain ways that are different than women.
Yes and no, but there's absolutely a different perception of a trans woman than a man. Like, in my experience, when women are in the same room as trans women, they're not as fearful of oh my God, this person could assault me, because the likelihood of trans people assaulting women is so small. It's practically not. There's a reason for that.
I agree with that. Actual trans women. My point.
Trans women, period, not actual or inactual.
No, there is a thing. People that are claiming the trans identity but are not trans.
That's against the prompt.
That's true.
Men are not only scary because of their biological difference, they're strong or whatever, right? Some of the violence is that men can be abusive, harmful, and get away with it.
It's the system.
Not all men. Majority. At all.
Absolutely. It's the systemic power that is scary.
The reason that 90% of sexual assault cases go unreported is because of roughly the 8% that are reported, only 2% of them actually face consequences.
And we seem to
think we all
agree.
Yeah. Everyone agrees.
Tragic.
Right.
Some of my deepest, I honestly would say probably my deepest trauma is actually not my physical sexual assault. It was the manipulation that I faced
after
in the workplace by someone who was not necessarily physical with me, but they manipulated me. They used their power to paint me in a light and push me out of that job that I loved.
I'm so sorry you experienced that.
I agree, the stats will say a trans woman, which I would say is a man, a trans woman, it is less likely, very unlikely to attack. But it's not even, it's really kind of the principle. It's but if they were to, they would beat me up.
But then I'm going to take that one step further, which is that if they were to, and then the police were to come, what would their experience be like versus yours as a white woman?
I'm not talking about the cops. It's just me and
but
the
cops
trans
are
woman.
a factor.
I
right?
actually hate the cops. Just saying. I don't like cops.
If you see a male person and you see a trans woman, what does that have equal amounts of fear for you, or is there a difference?
So my thing, I'm trying to focus in on a trans woman wants to beat me up.
Why are trans women wanting to beat you up?
No, that's not good. I'm saying hypothetical. It's a hypothetical. I'm just saying, can we all agree that I would get my ass beat?
But I'm saying.
Well, yes or no? I mean,
yes, maybe,
so that's
but
all
then.
No,
how would the experience-
no, it's not no maybe. You will get your ass beat by trans female, because they are. Yeah, couldn't even just yes or no. This is wrong with people. People can't just say yes or no. Maybe.
Experience be outside of just that
Why are we
hypothetical
going- I'm
vacuum?
not talking
No,
about
no,
this.
I want to finish my thought because
That's not the prompt, though.
No, but it is the prompt because we're talking about, we can't talk about this in a hypothetical vacuum.
What's the prompt?
The prompt was that it's rational for women to fear men, but you're bringing in trans women when the discussion is men.
It's not about physicality for me. It's about power.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
is that,
and that's what you are
And
saying.
that's what I'm saying is that that situation is so unlikely, and it is unlikely because of the difference in societal power that you hold over a trans woman.
That's not exactly
For
true.
people who love to
I understand what you're
who
saying.
love to criticize other people for assuming genders incorrectly, you love assuming how things are going to happen and like predict the future and how situations play out and how I'm treated by everyone else.
Well, you're hypothetical. That's a hypothetical. You're also
assuming what would happen to me.
You're assuming they would beat you up.
A man would beat me up. Yes. Yes.
You're assuming a trans woman would beat you up.
We'll be specific. A male.
Male. Yes.
Better.
That's all I'm saying. You want to avoid answering that part and going to this bigger, broad thing to avoid. If there's a biological man, a trans woman,
I disagree with you on the definition here.
Biological male.
But I'm a biological
We'll say male or female and gender man or woman.
I'm a biological woman who is roughly of like not too big of difference of size. I could easily beat you up. So why are you more afraid of them than me when I present just as equal of a difference to you? It's because of your.
No, you obviously could beat me
No,
up
because
too, but a man would beat me up more.
no, you said this 5 minutes ago. Males, not men necessarily. Males create. Would you say 90% of? Would you say males create 90% of the crimes?
I didn't say that.
There was something like that.
I said I was talking about reports of sexual assault, and that does actually include male assault victims.
Right.
And most of
them are males.
And most of the male
That's
assault
my point.
victims, their assaulters were also men.
That's my point. Right.
Hi. Okay, so let's start by saying.
wait. Wow, she's. Hi. Anyway.
The conversation that I just listened to, I don't disagree with much of what we were talking about. When this prompt was asked, I interpreted the prompt to say, to communicate, it is rational for women to fear all men. I know that the word all was not in there, but that's how I sort of understood it, which I don't think it's rational for women to fear all men. I think that's very tragic. We know that there are bad men, we know that there are very, very good men. And I personally think that the amount of good men exceedingly overwhelms the amount of bad men, but that's just my personal opinion. I also, quite frankly, fear women. I do. I fear how manipulative women can be to each other in the workplace.
Pinky, I'm talking about you.
I fear how manipulative
and other girl
women can be to each other and how toxic women can be to each other when it comes to polarizing topics like we've discussed here, motherhood, other very incendiary topics.
We're talking about physical abuse with men, and actually with emotional abuse, it's most common in lesbian couples.
Really?
So,
yeah, that is actually.
You would know.
No,
you deal with it. It's
there
horrendous.
is actually a statistic.
Horrendous.
Women are equally as likely to commit domestic violence. I genuinely, when I got into this work, I thought that it was going to be like, oh, just men commit domestic violence. No, women are
Really
equally
bad.
as likely to commit domestic
But
violence.
why were you surprised by that?
Because I had a different definition in my head of what domestic violence was before I got my training. Domestic violence is not just like punching, hitting, or physical violence. Oftentimes it's emotional violence, psychological violence, sexual violence, financial violence, legal violence, and women are far more likely to commit psychological domestic violence or emotional domestic violence.
But why were you, with your original definition, the more violent definition of domestic
Like
violence?
physical violence?
Yeah, physical violence. Why were you surprised that, oh, women, like...
I wasn't surprised that
like
women
you
commit
assumed that
physical.
men would.
No, I wasn't
commit
surprised
more,
that
though.
women commit physical violence, physical domestic violence. I assumed that under the I assumed that there was one definition of domestic violence, and that was physical. And statistics do show that men do commit physical domestic violence more than women do. That's just a fact. But
Like,
when you add in all other kinds of domestic violence, women commit it at equal rates.
Yeah, that's a wrap on the group discussion. Take a breath for a second.
I do appreciate the ways in which we have been able to come together and agree, because I am of the opinion that feminism and anti-feminism, they do oftentimes blend, because I think a lot of the times we are misunderstanding what the other person's
We all
viewpoint
want
is.
what's good for women.
That's what I said over there.
We
I
just
said
have
we
a
all want
different
it.
idea of
Of
what's
what that
good for
is.
women. Yes, but we all want.
Alright, if you guys like that video, please like and subscribe to the channel. I enjoyed the video, getting on each and every one. But I gotta go with anti-feminist on this one, because you already saw my expressions. Therefore, yeah, this is part 2. But yeah, you guys have a nice day, and I'll try to enjoy my rest of the day, which I have a headache.